Okay, great. So we'll open the West Newbury Selectboard meeting for Monday, July 12th at 7:03 p.m. And there are no public announcements on this agenda. So the first agenda item, as shown, is a request for placement of temporary roadside signs.
There are announcements.
Oh, there are announcements.
Right.
Oh.
This meeting is being
I'm
broadcast.
sorry. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, this meeting is being broadcast on local cable TV and recorded for rebroadcast on the local cable channels and on the internet. Meeting also is accessible by remote participation using Zoom, and the Zoom phone number is 646-558-8656. If connecting through a computer or a smartphone, the meeting ID is 898-8345-8906, and the passcode is 088797. There's a summer concert series every Thursday for the next, I think last Thursday was the first, right? The first one should have been.
No, we had 2 postponed.
Okay, so there has not yet been one, but there are 8 more scheduled.
6 more.
6 more?
Okay.
Okay, 6 more scheduled. They're Thursdays, 6:30 to 8 at the bandstand. It says here rain or shine. It appears as though that's been proven
False.
not entirely correct.
Check the website.
Yeah, that's right. There are additional details on the town website. For those who are watching who want to be kept up to date on what's happening relative to West Newbury town government, you can subscribe to an email series from the town website. It's at www.wnewbury.org/subscribe. Okay. So this is this meeting is a little bit different than normal. Our town manager Angus is not here. Sadly, his father passed away, and he's taking a couple days of bereavement leave. And also, member Dave Archibald is calling in from outside, but he is in the meeting, although you won't see him in the picture here. Under regular business, the first agenda item is request for placement of temporary roadside signs. Now that we are all 3 here, we probably should take this up. I had thought if only 2 of us were here, that would have been best to not take this article up or this agenda item up. And there are requests from 3 organizations: the Cultural Council, the West Newbury Youth League, and Seacoast Youth Flag Football, to place signs in specific locations around town. The Cultural Council is requesting a fairly long period. They're having an event, a yard art event. Are you here for? Okay, great. Okay. You're an innocent spectator. So the Cultural Council is having a yard art event the weekend of October 23rd and 24th. And information is available on, it's actually on a Mosesian Arts website, so I probably shouldn't go into that now. That will be on their signs, I assume. But they're requesting to post signs from early August through the event date, the weekend of October 23rd and 24th. And there were a number of locations requested, not all of which are possible, and certain of which we historically don't allow. So, Wendy or Archie, do you want to have anything to say?
I would, I'd just like to say that, I think one of their requests was on the training field, and, historically, we have tried to, because the training field is sort of is a memorial for, you know, victims, for, the town, people that are part in wars, for the town, the members of the town. So we tried to keep it more of a, not sacred, but a place where we try to not have it commercialized. The only time we've sort of gone back on that is, and it's been grandfathered in sort of, is the, we have allowed times for the garden clubs, garden sale in the spring. And another one of the reasons also is because right next to that is where the plant sale actually takes place. So it sort of makes sense that they could have a sign there. But we have tried to restrict the use of that area for signs. As a person, and this is going back a long time for the Board of Selectmen, as a personal, this is just on, so that's sort of historically been the way the training field area has been used in terms of signs. As far as putting a sign in front of the town hall, this is just my personal feeling as a member of the select board is that I don't think we should be putting signs there. First of all, we have the electronic sign in front of the public safety building where information can be displayed quite easily, and it's only 2 doors down from in front of the town hall. And using that place for non-town related business, to me it seems like somehow the town is endorsing that particular thing, whether it's a cultural council thing or a sports thing or a Boy Scout thing or whatever it is. It's just sort of been my feeling that but that's subject to other members of the board. But I just don't like putting things on the in front of the town hall also. In terms of time, we've been the board for the last I don't know 4 or 5 years. We've been trying to minimize signs that go up and also minimize the length of time that signs go up. And I think that to me, a month seems like a lot. If people haven't got the message in a month, they're not going to get it. And so this one from the beginning of from now until the end of October, that seems like too long of a time for me. So those are my comments.
Yeah, it does seem like a long time.
Yeah.
I don't see the list for the cultural council. I mean, there was one for the sports one.
Okay, so I'm looking at the
In the text of the paragraph.
It's on page 4 of the packet, and they're asking for the library, post office, town hall, which I assume they actually mean the town office building, as opposed to the town hall. Training field, Page School, High School, Stewart Street, Traffic Island, and Bridge Church Street, Traffic Island. Archie, can you hear okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. Yeah, so the library, I mean, I saw the previous one that we approved and Angus's reasoning for which ones are allowed.
Yeah.
And so several of these were not allowed.
Right. Yeah, and Angus had noted on one of the other requests that the town has been consistent over the years not allowing temporary signage in this location.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I know that particular logic because I don't recall that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Why not the library?
The library, the grounds are controlled by the trustees.
Yeah, the
Okay,
library
well,
has
that's,
their own.
that's a good reason then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if the, I guess if somebody went to the trustees of the library,
They'd have to come to both places.
okay,
You'd have to come with permission from the library trustees,
okay,
just like you would, you know.
Yeah. okay,
I mean, I think in general, we should just have a blanket policy of locations where it's acceptable, how long they can be out, because I don't like the idea of signs on every intersection throughout town.
Yeah.
I just think that's too much, and
Yeah,
I don't know how
I-
effective it is.
right, I agree with you. And in fact, right here, we're gonna have, well, maybe one of the things we have to be attuned to as we go through the three of these is that we try to minimize overlap.
Right.
You know, for instance, in this case, for the cultural council, they're asking for, I think it was, August. What was that? Yeah. We anticipate posting signs in August when we kick off registration, keeping them up through the event in October. That is a long time. That would be 2 months. And does it make sense in a case like that to have maybe 2 windows where the signs can be up?
I guess it depends if they're trying to get people to sign up well ahead of the event versus just publicizing right before.
Yeah.
You know, I can see if they want to encourage signups to have it
Yeah.
out.
Well, I think that's it. I mean, because this is yard art. They're trying to encourage people to participate by
Yeah.
actually making yard art.
Yeah.
And you know, so what I take it from this is they're going to put the signs up, encouraging people to respond by going to the website to learn about,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what is the definition of, I guess, what is the definition, and you know, what are the rules of the game in terms of putting up yard art, so I can see in that case that knowing about it early is important, so that people actually participate as yard art creators, and later what will be important is people being aware that the event is happening, so that they actually go and view it. I mean, it strikes me that way.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's just hard. I mean, I don't know that we can assume from our limited understanding of this what those 2 windows,
Yeah.
the desirable windows for them
Okay.
would be.
Well, maybe because we still have quite a bit of time here.
Yeah.
Maybe we should ask that question.
Yeah.
You know, let's say if there were 2, what is a reasonable period of time? 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
I think 2 weeks.
So what would be a reasonable? Archie, what do you think about that?
Well, I kind of thought that, I kind of thought that the announcements of the, you know, to get people involved was sort of more important in the beginning, and then afterwards, well, it's gonna happen, and people are gonna see what's going on anyway. So at that point, I don't see why you need the signs at the end. It seems more like you need it in the beginning. That's sort of the way I feel.
So if we tell them that they have a 2-week window and they can, you know, when would they like to have them up? Is that a way to approach it?
I personally, I mean, it seems to me that the 2-week window at the beginning would be important, but I do think people will need a reminder, and people who aren't participants, active participants, you know, creators of the yard art, will need, I would think, would need to understand, you know, sure, you'll drive around town, you'll see random things, but I'm guessing that there's going to be a map online on the website. You know, there's going to be something that tells people where to go look.
So could that be on the electronic sign? You know that?
I suppose it could be done that way. I'm not sure what's most effective.
All right, so if we agree 2 weeks is a good length of time, could we just reach back out to Allison and, you know, get her input? Or the
Yeah, no,
council's
that's
input?
we should probably try to get a
Yeah.
little bit more, you know, understanding that there's a 2-week window or potentially 2-week windows, what would be the most valuable windows,
Yeah.
window or windows.
And then as far as the location, most of the ones she listed are not, like the high school, we can't really approve, or the Page School, training field, town hall, post office, we have no control, and the
Well,
library,
now
so.
historically, we have, for the Page School, we have, okay, you know, according to the note here, Page School requires select board approval under policy, there's policy online.
So the school district doesn't need to,
Apparently not.
okay,
We own the land, so
right, I
we
didn't know,
can use it for anything that's not inconsistent with
yeah,
the school.
Yeah, and for this particular request, they didn't include pipe stave, and I assume by pipe stave, they mean within, after you enter the road to pipe stave, I'm assuming, you know, when you're actually on the access road. But I guess that's not as, maybe not as relevant for the cultural council as it would be for youth sports.
and if there's a sign at the Page, it's not really. Right, it's kind of redundant to have one across the street.
Yeah, unless it, like I said, it's, I mean, I think it's a youth sports and you have one
Yeah, on the
on the access
yeah.
road, you know, within the access road, that then it'll get a lot more eyeballs.
They usually put one at the crossing.
Yeah,
That's where you see them both
Yep.
ways
Yep.
coming and going.
Yeah,
right.
right. Thanks.
All right, so do we want to specify locations or have that be in the response to her, tell her the ones that,
Yeah, I think if we're going to send an email requesting clarification, that we should probably say the locations that we think are usable. And so out of the list, that's Page School, the high school, and the Bridge Street, Church Street traffic island.
they'll have to get Park and Rec approval for that.
That's true. All right. Gets complicated.
Yeah.
Do they also, if they get, do they require both Park and Rec and Select Board approval?
Well, it would be select board approval under the, just the assigned policy, because you have to do that.
Yeah, okay.
But obviously that public land is dedicated to park purposes.
Right, so Park and Rec will have to weigh in. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Angus's note says that the commission has handled requests for signage at that location.
Okay.
So could we draft?
So, I wasn't sure if it was Wendy speaking. Wendy, do you have a problem with the just the regular intersections, or?
I would like to not have one on every single intersection in town. I mean, it would be nice to limit it somehow.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how we pick and choose. I guess we tried to limit them also historically in the past, to try to limit right in the center of town, that intersection there with flowers, and try to limit it there. But I mean, if we're so limiting, then people can't put it anywhere. So that's, I don't know. We haven't ever actually picked a number that you can have 11 or 6 or whatever. We haven't actually done that.
Yeah. Well, in this case, based on the list, we've arrived at only 3, which is maybe not a lot of exposure.
Seems to me that
yeah,
this.
I think they can have more than that.
Yeah. So that being the case, where we've already scratched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 off of the list that originally included 9. Do we propose? Maybe it makes sense to propose another location that we think is a good location.
What about just like the entrance to town on 113 by where Artichoke goes under 113, maybe, Garden Street and 113,
So if we do it on 113 though, that's a state highway, and we can't do it within the state's right of way, right?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, if you look on page 9, if you look at the flag footballs list,
Yeah.
maybe that's, seems like maybe we should just have a standard policy for organizations that want signs that says how long they can be out. These are the locations that you can have,
Yep.
you know, then we won't have to go through this every time.
Yeah, that's a good point. It would
Yeah.
make it a lot quicker.
Yeah.
If we had a standard window and
Locations.
window or windows and locations.
Do we want to limit the total number as well, or?
Well, I guess we limit the total number
By locations.
by having
Yeah.
location, assuming
Yeah.
they're not putting 10 up at one location.
Yeah. So this list of 10 includes pipe stave. The high school doesn't have page, but maybe this is a good basis to work from.
Okay. So, you know, I think maybe in response to Allison, we should, you know, we need to clarify what's the best time frame for the cultural council's request, and you know we can confirm 3 of the locations at this point, and you know it's probably time well spent at our next meeting to try to arrive at this list. You know, sort of a definitive list of locations that we think are acceptable, and use that for reference going forward.
Yep.
You know, it's going to take a little bit more time, but then we won't be going through this each time.
Yeah, that's right.
Mr. Chairman, this is Archie.
Yeah.
You might also want to mention that they can certainly place the signs at their, any of their own, properties.
Right. Okay.
As long as they're the right size.
Yeah, as long as they meet the sign limitations, the sign bylaw limitations, and size limitations, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, thanks, Archie. Okay, well, I think we can move on past the cultural council. That took a lot more than I would have hoped, but so the next request is West Newbury Youth League flag football signage, and the time frame.
So it's not clear to me, Jenny, do you know the B and C, they're both for the flag football. Are they 2 separate requests, or is Matt following up on?
Yeah, one is West Newbury Youth League, and the other one
is Seacoast.
Is Seacoast.
Okay.
Right, yeah. So they competing for the same players, or?
I thought of that too when I saw the request, but
Yeah. And how does the time frame differ?
So what do you think? I wondered that exactly the same thing. Is that 2 versions of the same thing, or 2 totally separate entities?
2 weeks.
It's 2 separate leagues. One's the Seacoast and one's West Newbury.
It's the NFL and the AFL.
So it doesn't look like Matt replied with specifics.
Right.
Okay, so we can just defer that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right.
Okay.
But it seems like we'd want to give them preference, being from West Newbury. But without the details, I guess we can't.
And
On the Seacoast League, I'm not sure why they need signs now through September 5th,
yeah.
unless
Yeah,
that's
yes,
when
it's
it actually.
proposal to September 5th, and that's, you know, again, that's way too long.
Yeah.
Well, I think once again, you know, the goal is going to be to come up with a set of locations that are acceptable and a time frame. At our next meeting that'll be applicable across the board here.
Okay.
And you know, personally, I think it's worth considering. Do we want, you know, to allow 2 shots? You know, say if it's just a 2-week period may not be enough to get people's attention, or you know, 1 2-week shot may not be enough to capture everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the goal is to capture as many people as they can, to capture those eyeballs and, you know, get participation.
So if the policy is you can have 2-week periods and propose to us when you want to do it,
I mean,
maybe
if
that's how to do it.
if that's what we were to
Yeah,
arrive at.
Because this way you generate early interest in it, and then right
late-
before sign up,
right,
remind people.
right before sign up is done.
Yeah. What do you think about the locations that they're requesting? It seemed like too much to me, but I guess if it's only 10 in the whole town.
What street is being referred to as Moulton and Pond Street and Indian Hill and Pond Street? What's Pond Street? Do they mean Cherry Hill? Are they calling Cherry Hill Pond Street? Moulton.
Jenny's
and
looking
there's
it
an
up.
intersection
I can
of
tell.
Moulton and Cherry Hill, and there's an intersection of Indian Hill and Cherry Hill. But unless there's a new street that I don't know about. We don't have a Pond Street, do we?
Unless they're referring to what is Newbury, Walton Street going up to when you come in.
Yeah,
By South Street.
that's South Street though.
In West Newbury at South Street. I don't know what it is in Newbury.
Yeah, I think it's called Main Street right there. Maybe, yeah. Okay, well,
We don't have a Pond Street.
yeah, I guess we need clarification on that. And
You don't see it, Jenny?
No, but interesting, the map that came up is,
They can put it on Pond Street if they can find it.
right, that's right.
oh, there's a
They can-
south,
they
there's a
can-
South Pond Street?
That's South Street.
South Street. Oh, well, it's okay. Well, that's interesting. If it's shown as South Ponds, I've never heard that before.
According to Google Maps, there's nothing called Pound Street in West Newbury.
Right.
There's a Pound Street in Newburyport,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There definitely is a new group.
but not here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's that obviously they need to clarify that.
So
So-
could we have a total of 10 locations? I mean, do you want to limit the total number on town property?
Yeah, I think that would make sense.
Yeah.
That we should limit the number that are on town-owned property, and 10 seems excessive to me.
Yeah.
You know, maybe 5 is a reasonable number.
Yep, and then on private property, as
Right.
long as
Yeah.
it's in
Yeah. If
accordance.
it's private property, then that
Okay.
falls fair.
All right, well, we're pretty much making the policy right now, so.
Yeah.
Right?
True. I guess we
Two
are.
2-week periods, 5 locations, and we can just give them a list of where they can choose from.
Yeah.
Or they
And
can
then-
propose them to us, but
Right.
no more than
Right.
5.
But we probably do want to. I don't know if we want to spend the time right.
I think we should
Yeah.
just say the ones that they cannot use, which we've,
Yeah,
Angus
which
has
we've
already.
already
yeah.
defined a bunch
Yeah.
of those. Yeah.
Okay, is it something you want me to draft, or would Angus's office take care of that? To just summarize this?
Yeah, I
and
think
put it on the
Angus, I think the
Okay.
town manager's office should
Okay,
probably do that.
okay, great.
Is that reasonable for you? Do you think, Jenny, from your perspective, that, you know, seeing as Angus isn't here to speak for?
And he would be able, well, yes, we can do that through our office.
Yeah, okay, great. Thanks.
So do we need to get back to these people and just let them?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Great, thanks.
All right, so then we'll vote on all three at the next meeting.
Great,
Is that right?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we hopefully will have a potential policy.
Yep.
Or, a proposed policy, and we'll vote on it next meeting.
Great.
Okay, now we have committee appointments and reappointments. And I'm just gonna read off a quick list of names because there aren't that many. So we have Chuck Wagerson?
Legerson?
Yes. Is that you?
Yes, it
Oh,
is.
great. Chuck, that's funny. I was asking Mike earlier today because I couldn't picture. I heard your name, but I didn't know who you were. Okay,
Yeah.
great, good. And you've been on FinCom before, so that's great.
Yeah, my name is all over this place.
Yeah.
I was FinCom, I was also the computer consultant to the town for about 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
For the police department as well. One of the events that happens every year still has my name on it. It's the road race.
Oh,
I
okay.
started that.
Oh, great.
My
The
wife-
apple harvest, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, neat.
It got apple harvest because originally I live on Bailey's Lane. I could
Okay.
smell the apples
Okay.
in the fall. And I thought,
Okay.
what better place to have a road race start than on the farm?
Yeah.
And it, of course, never went there,
Yeah.
but that's another problem. So I started that when we had kids at the Page School. We put out a weekly newsletter. And if you want to find out how advertising happens in this town, it's through the parents
Okay.
of all the kids. Then
Right,
everything
right,
gets around.
right.
We did, I don't know how long you've been in town, but there used to be a treasure hunt that was put on every year.
Yeah.
Throughout time, my wife put that on, along with me. And so we've been involved in all sorts of, we helped build and raise money for the park.
Yeah.
Action Cove.
Yeah,
Yep.
so we've been around for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Mike had mentioned that you're.
The treasure hunt was awesome.
Yeah,
I wanna hear.
everybody who went on it had a great time and talk about, you were talking about how to get around town.
Yeah.
We distributed a map with it and just had numbers on it, and people had to go from place to place,
Yeah.
and people went literally through all of town.
Yeah.
So it was a fun time, but it took us 6 months to do each one.
Yeah. That's a time commitment. Well, great. Thanks.
Are we all done?
Yeah, I'm sort of going through the list of who's up for appointment,
I see,
so
okay.
we're trying to.
How do I ask some questions to ask me?
Well, you were previously on the FinCom. I'm assuming you're very
Sure.
familiar then with
Yeah.
the FinCom's mission
Yes.
and understand that it's concentrated, deep bursts of concentrated focus
Yeah.
and then
How long have you been in town?
25 years.
Then you used to go to a town meeting where there was a 10-year budget passed out.
Yeah.
I did that
Okay.
when I was at the FinCom.
Okay.
And so I did an analysis because I figured
Yeah.
people who voted for things financially
Yeah.
at least should understand what the history was
Yeah.
of the town spending
Yeah.
and how it compared to towns other than its size.
Okay.
So that when you voted on something, you could say, well, other than just saying, yes or no, at least you can understand the context.
Yeah. Okay.
So I may still end up doing that because I enjoy doing that. And I also represented the town on the the Mass Municipal Association.
Mhm.
I was a member of that
Okay.
as well, so I've been around.
Okay. Great. Good. Thanks. Well, appreciate the fact that you stood up for the position.
Yeah, I retired now. I did all my businesses, so I just have a lot of time now.
Okay.
And I think my wife wants some of time. Some of the time.
That's always valid. Okay, and also Susan Doherty for the tree committee, and Paul Kelly for reappointment to the ZBA. Wendy, did you want to make a motion by chance?
Can we approve all three at once?
Sure.
All right, I move to approve the 3 residents' applications before us. We need to name the people.
No, I just went
Yep.
as
Yep.
presented.
Yep.
A second. Any discussion?
Second.
Thanks, Archie. Yeah, count as. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jeff. Good to
You're
meet
I
you.
guess I'll be sworn in tomorrow, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What time are you guys
You're
here?
gonna be sworn in right now, Peter.
Oh, okay, we'll do that. Sure. Okay. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks.
My knees. Just have them done.
11 years.
All right, I'll tell you this. One.
Okay, review the proposed FY21 line item transfer request. So, get to that list. So, it was presented here as a single list, but I'll flip through the pages, and Stephanie, please flag me if I miss anything in sequence here. There were a number of line item transfer requests to balance the end of year budget for FY21, which we just ended as of June 30th. So the first transfer is from the technology expense account to the select board operating expense account for $2,800. The second request is from the conservation salary and wages account to conservation expenses for $3,250.93. Next is from the planning salary account to the planning expense account for $349.64. Next is from police salary and wages to police overtime, and the amount is $7,098.03. Then we have a transfer request from dispatch salary and wages to dispatch overtime for $3,083.54. Transfer from fire alarm wages to fire other wages for $666.16. Transfer from police expenses to animal control professional services for $1,172.66. Okay, a transfer from highway, sidewalk, and trees account to parks expenses account for $1,689.53. Transfer from highway, that's a duplicate again. No, that's, okay, I'm sorry, that's different. Transferring from, again, the highway, sidewalk, and trees account, this time to stormwater management account for $764.97. Transfer from the town building improvement account to the town building operating expenses account for $16,275.60. Transfer from highway, sidewalk, and trees account to DPW overtime wages account for $4,277.65. Transfer from the Memorial Day Parade account to the Soldiers' Grave expenses for $561. A transfer from maturing debt to the interest and paydowns account for $4,100. And that's the last of them. Yes.
Is Stephanie available? Yeah, I just wanted to know what, of all the ones, I'm okay with it. I just don't, what's this one?
The final one from maturing debt, apparently, okay, I'll give you the Quick background, as I understand it, as was explained to me, it's to cover maturing debt as the budget was in the wrong line. So it was a mistake in a line item budget of several hundred items of essentially the number being in the wrong line.
That's correct, Archie. We, when Angus and I budgeted, we budgeted, maturing debt too high and interest and pay downs too low.
Okay.
So it's
So
a reclass from one bucket.
What's interest in pay downs, and what is that?
It's the interest on the debt that we still have outstanding.
Okay. I just curiosity, that's all, okay.
No, it's a good question, Archie.
Yeah, that is a good question.
So if somebody wants to make a motion, then I can open up discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve the, end of year, line item transfers as delineated by Chairman Parker and as noted in the, booklet for the agenda for today.
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I had a question. There's no backup here on the transfer from town building improvements to operating expenses, other than just high HVAC costs. That's just such a large number. I was looking for more,
I think,
explanation.
yeah, yeah, go ahead, Steph.
I can talk about that. So, over the last several years, the town, building operating expense budget has been under budgeted. And what happens is when we have to have maintenance, when we have specific inspections done and something is found that has to be repaired, it goes above and beyond. So, between 20 and 21, the budget was only increased a few $1,000s, and you'll notice for FY 22, we increased the budget, let me just find that number for you. To $130,830 this past year in FY 21. It was only budgeted at $118,000, so we've increased it about $12,600 to kind of account for these things.
Okay.
Many repairs that happen in DPW can't wait to pass inspections, etc. So we go ahead and continue to fix stuff so that we can pass inspection, and they seem to go over. I did kind of a trend analysis, and over the last 4 years, this line item has always been under budgeted, so we're trying to do a better job allocating the funding
where it
so we don't see
belongs.
this yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Great.
have there consistently been transfers to this account?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Since like 2010 forward, actually.
Okay, great, thanks.
I
Yeah,
did print out like all the detail too, if you'd like to see that.
No, I just wanted
Okay.
an understanding of why. Okay.
I had spoken with Wayne earlier, I guess it was last week, and he mentioned something about it may have been related to the rooftop units. There may have been one particular expense related to the rooftop units here on this building, the rooftop AC. Okay, so any further discussion?
Nope.
Archie? No.
Aye.
Okay, great. Oh, yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Chair, I'll have you sign these after.
Okay, sure, great. Thanks. Okay, next we have the Learning Tree lease, and there were some changes proposed by Kelly Webster, the owner of the business Learning Tree, and discussion with our DPW director, Wayne Amaral. And we have a sketch plan showing some proposed changes to the space, to the lawn area and other access points to the building, which was presented as an alternative to the town providing a mower and weed whacker to the owner of Learning Tree to take over care and maintenance of or primarily mowing of the yard, the small yard area. And this proposal will actually remove grass in their yard area and replace it with engineered wood fiber, which is what's used in some of the other space already. So it'll essentially remove that maintenance problem, the current maintenance problem with mowing. And DPW director provided us with a sketch that was acceptable, of a plan that's acceptable to him. So what we're doing is considering, are we good with making that change to the lease, which we'd already approved, but which has not been signed by the owner of Learning Tree.
So it's just that one change? I just have the.
Yeah,
it's
this is
hard to read
actually a
on the
little bit better
printout,
sketch
yeah.
right here, because it's in color, but.
Yeah.
So this area here, they're gonna pull out the grass and put in the engineered wood fiber. It's mentioned through here, and their Learning Tree is gonna they'll purchase the engineered wood fiber. We will place it, there's a few other items here, removing wooden edging, which apparently for the daycare center is considered to be a risk factor for kids, because of splintering.
So,
Rick,
Yes.
looking at the aerial photograph, so there's a red area, a red crosshatch area, and a black crosshatch area. So is the whole thing gonna be the particles, or what's the difference between the red and the black?
The red is the play area, and the black cross-hatched area is it's outside their play area, as I understand. The notes here say remove I don't know what that.
gravel
Yeah,
path,
remove the gravel path.
remove edging.
Remove the wooden edging, which again is considered to be a hazard.
It's going to be installed.
And they're going to install loam and seed there. Apparently, from Wayne's perspective, because they already have to mow the edge of the property, that wasn't a problem.
Okay. I have no issues with it at all, provided we're using the safe material that has to be in playgrounds and stuff now. I don't have no problem.
Yeah.
Did he say how often, what's the life expectancy of
Oh,
that
the material? Well, from the other discussions with a new playground, requires some maintenance, but it's in their play area. So I'm assuming they're going to maintain the play area. I think they have to rake it out periodically. As far as how long it lasts, no, there was I've heard no specific mention of that.
But they're buying it?
Yeah,
right?
that's according to this. It says they're purchasing the EWF here. A Learning Tree purchase EWF. So
I wonder if we should just stipulate that they're also maintaining it in here, and who will replace it.
Yep. Okay.
But I mean, if this is a 3-year or 2-year contract, I guess maybe that's not as critical.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure it'll last 2 years,
Yeah.
and we probably can't extend it. Tell them to take care of it for 5 years or 10 years based on that.
But they could at least maintain it.
Yeah.
So they're not looking for Wayne to come in and rake it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So that's a good point.
To have the Learning Tree be responsible for maintenance of the wood fiber or whatever it is. What's
So
it called?
that would include presumably raking, or releveling. However they do that, they probably just rake it and replacement
As needed.
as needed. They're the ones that are maintaining their license, and so if the material becomes no longer safe, then that's incumbent on them to make it safe.
Yep.
Sound reasonable, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Just, I'm not the lawyer. Yeah.
How does that cover?
We're really getting down into the weeds here.
Yeah. Somebody had to say that, Archie.
Yeah.
I was cringing.
All right, so
Um,
how does the motion have to be made then, if we've already voted on it and now we're amending it?
Yeah,
Vote to amend the lease by replacing the lawnmower and weed whacker, grass maintenance
with modification of the site,
with modification of the site.
as shown in the drawing that was part of the packet.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah, basically, that's what
Yeah.
And also noting that Learning Tree will be responsible for maintenance
Right.
of that area. Yep, so moved.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Okay, the next item was the proposed memorandum of agreement with Merrimack for the joint posting and hiring of a conservation agent. There hasn't been progress to discuss on that, and there will be at our next meeting. We need to get that done as soon as possible because we're going to be operating without a conservation agent. The Merrimack Select Board or Board of Selectmen, whichever name they use, is meeting tonight, and their finance director was out last week, so there was no ability to get an item in front of them for discussion at tonight's meeting.
Mhm.
You know, they, I don't know if they're, you know, if they're going to work in some discussion of this or not, but you know, there's really nothing for us to move on.
Yeah, and I don't think the Conservation Commission has responded either
Yeah.
about the agreement. So.
Okay. Yeah, but it is important that we
Yes, for sure.
move this as fast as we can.
Yeah.
May I add something?
Sure.
Angus sent out an email today as well, and the goal is to get the MOA in final form by the select board 7/26 meeting.
Mhm. So I had asked him about commenting ahead of time, and he said it would be helpful if we have comments to feed them to him now.
Okay.
And so that would just streamline things.
Okay. And do you, based on what you've seen up till now, do you have do you have comments you want to do?
The only comment I have so far was just talking about the shared expenses for the agent. I think we also need to identify what happens with expenses. I mean, there's 2 line items, and expenses for West Newbury may not be the same as Merrimack. So,
Okay. You mean sort of operational expenses,
Yeah.
not benefits in that?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Like if we need a new camera or something, you know, does that
Yeah.
come out of a joint account, or does West Newbury pay for their own expense type items?
Okay. And do you have any thoughts? on
I
that?
think it should be separate. I don't know
Yeah.
if that complicates the financial part, but if the resources are going to be used in the town only, then it doesn't make sense for both towns to pay for it, or maybe it does. I don't know. I mean, Merrimack has a lot fewer filings and activity,
Yep.
so they may not want to share expenses on
Okay.
those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Just something to consider.
Okay. My guess is that from a budgetary standpoint, that's a relatively small
Yeah,
number. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to try to identify all possible
Yeah. No, it's a great
details
point.
then.
Good point. Thanks. Okay. So you want that Jenny, were you making a note about that particular comment? And
I'll
I did make
yeah.
a note on that.
Yeah, I'm going through the rest of it as
Okay,
well, and I'll
great.
just forward them to Angus, I assume. And,
Okay,
yeah.
good. Thanks, Lonnie.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we've got discussion of the potential date for fall special town meeting, and preview of any known or anticipated warrant articles. So as far as typically it would be the last Monday in October, and are we at a point where we fall back to what we've done historically? We do have so this is maybe a little personal perspective. We've had 3 what I consider to be very successful outdoor meetings. And do we want to revert to what we've had been done for the last, 15 or 20 years or more, which was the indoor meetings on the first, with the target of the last Monday in October? Or do we want to consider continuation of outdoor meetings? And if so, when would that meeting be? And then we work back from that date as far as when the meeting warrant would have to be posted and when we would want any article requests into the select board. So, I, as I said, think that we had very successful outdoor town meetings, and it kind of makes it a different type of event, and probably draws on a different part of the population. I mean, it's obviously all meetings are open to everybody who's a registered voter, but is it more inclusive to have it on a Saturday, or is it less inclusive? And are there any other advantages or disadvantages? As far as the venue is concerned, both the bandstand and the parking lot and field area are on what could be considered, and the annex are on what could be considered the municipal campus. So we're effectively at the same location. Just one is inside and one is outside. So I don't know what thoughts others have.
I think we had talked about this a while ago, or maybe it was only last month, but we're thinking maybe one meeting have outside on a Saturday and the other meeting have, like we normally do, in the evening, just to try to catch, as many different people as possible.
Okay.
That's just one thing. Because I know having it on a Saturday.
Go ahead, Archie.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I think we've lucked out on the weather a few times now. I don't know whether late in October we can roll the dice again. That's just you can have some really cold, rainy days. It'll be late October, not necessarily, but you can. And I wouldn't be averse to doing the Saturday thing, but I think at late in October now, I would be more partial to the annex.
What if we were to because effectively it's the same location, if you want to refer to this as the municipal campus, in either case it's on the municipal campus. What if we were to plan on a Saturday outdoor meeting, and 2 or 3 days before DPW starts to lay things out, we were to make a call and either stay outside or move it inside. Is that too risky?
Well, I think we should hear from Wayne on that. If there is a certain degree of setting up outside, and even I don't know. I would like to know how much work it would be to change things at the last minute.
Yeah.
I do think I did hear feedback from parents of children who play sports that Saturdays mornings is not a great time for them.
Yeah.
So that's one reason I think it might be good to, offer both over the course of the year.
I couldn't hear what Wendy said there.
Can you hear me better now if I lean towards the microphone?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I said I did hear feedback after the last town meeting that parents with children in sports could not make the Saturday meeting. And so that's why I think it might be good to have, one meeting in the evening and one meeting on Saturday morning.
Yeah, and that there's probably some sense in that because, I know there was, as Mike, you mentioned earlier today, a few years ago, there was an article that had been put forward by the Council on Aging wanting to have Saturday meetings because, you know, the constituency of at that point of the Council on Aging felt that it's, you know, Monday nights with a meeting going till potentially after 10 was very difficult, and that Saturday during the day would be much easier. So, you know, it's hard to.
And so I've heard in the past that parents say, well, it's hard to get a babysitter on a Monday night and they don't want to stay late on a school night. So we're never going to make everybody happy with it.
One of the
maybe one each way isn't a bad idea.
one thing to maybe investigate though is also, you know, the cost of having a Saturday meeting. Maybe a lot more because you have to have the workers in overtime, DPW, and it's obviously more extensive a setup than having it at the town annex where you basically can set up during regular, you know, working hours, which they do, and have it all set.
And just leave it till Monday rather than having to break it
They
down.
could do it Monday.
Yeah.
I mean, they could just spend the Monday, you know, during the regular business and have it all set up and ready for that evening, and then take down. When you have it outside, obviously on Saturday, you have to not only have the workers there early to set it up, but they have to stay in order to take it down the same day.
Yep. No, that's a good point.
That's a good point.
So and I think we were able to expense some of these on COVID-related things this year, which we would not be able to do
That's
in the future.
Yeah, good point. So I guess it'd be good now, you know, Wayne's gone, he's on vacation this week, but it would maybe be good when he gets back to get some feedback from Wayne, you know, an estimate on what he sees for the DPW as a delta cost between the two.
I think that's a big consideration. I mean, it's not huge, but it's a big consideration. So we should find that out.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't think we're going to resolve. Well, clearly, we're not going to resolve this tonight. But it would be good to get the additional information. Nonetheless, it would be good if we could. Mike and I spoke earlier and concluded that regardless of which date, let me see, the two potential dates, it would be Saturday, October 23rd, or Monday, October 25th. And the date that the warrant must be posted in either case is October 8th. That being the case, what we probably want to think about is what is the last day that articles can be submitted, so that we can give people a heads up. After looking at dates, it seemed like I think it was the 8th, September. Wednesday, September 8th seemed like a reasonable date where if articles were in by that date, they could be included in the packet for the next select board meeting, assuming the next select board meeting was the following Monday. That way we could, you know, begin to move forward immediately, you know, to prepare for the town meeting. Archie, does that sound, you know, you've been doing this a few more cycles. Does that sound reasonable to you?
Yeah, that does sound reasonable. I mean, and it gives the ping pong, and in trial one, hopefully not that many articles in, so I don't see why not.
Okay, yeah, so I think what we can safely say is that article requests will need to be in by Wednesday, September 8th.
Mm-hmm.
With the caveat that, as we've been trying to do, is that this is not something that these have to be things hall when there are fewer people there. We don't want this to be a secondary annual town meeting. This is for things, new things that we didn't anticipate at the time of before annual town meeting. We're trying to make it make that the purpose of the fall town meeting.
Yep,
And needed to be acted upon. They basically can't wait until the
right,
annual town
right.
meeting.
Right.
Okay. All right, I think we're done with that.
So you're gonna suggest, Danny, that we send out a notice to all the boards and committees that the fall town meeting, that they have to get any article requests in by September 8th? So they
Great.
start the ball rolling on that?
And also with the clarification that Archie provided, like what is the real function of the fall town meeting?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So what we know so far is the stormwater bylaw, right? Are there any other things that you're aware of that?
That's the only one I'm aware of.
Okay.
Jenny, would you know of any?
No,
There will probably be a request for, similar to the article we passed over, move no action on annual town meeting. There'll probably be a request for funding for an intern for the invasives control or invasives identification control. For
Since you have to have it.
right, since
In place.
the money has to be in place in time to advertise.
Yeah.
For the best candidates. Okay. Okay, so we have a discussion of town mailbox policy. This is referring to mailboxes that get damaged by plowing. And again, this is one I wasn't sure if we were going to all be here, and I was thinking that we would just want to pass this over.
Oh yeah, Elsa is here.
Oh,
Firstly.
you're Elsa. Okay, I'm sorry, Elsa. I didn't. Okay, we haven't met before.
Woody, thank you for reaching out to the community, because I would have just like thrown my hands up and said, well, that's the way this town works. And I feel, especially after talking to Angus, he called me last week, that we've got a whole new feeling in town, people really do care. I appreciate that a lot.
Sure.
My feeling, I have so many feelings about this mailbox issue, but since it happens so often, and I understand that the town cannot afford to replace everybody's mailbox post, because it's really the post that's the issue. Has anybody considered whether or not there's insurance for things like that? Or we have wonderful plowing situation here. I mean, we're much better than surrounding communities, but are there things we can do to make sure that mailboxes don't get plowed down as much? You know, even if it's just a reflector on mailboxes or posts, so that they're more apparent, or, it just seems crazy that it continues to happen year after year and it hasn't changed.
Yeah, I think, one of the issues is the placement in the first place. And I know in your situation, the placement was approved by the existing DPW director.
That wasn't the most frustrating.
Yeah.
But that was frustrating.
Yeah. So we have an example policy before us that, in addition to dealing with damage, also makes it much more clear about how mailboxes have to be placed and so forth to prevent damage. So we're looking at, preventive as well as, dealing with it after the fact.
Angus sent me a copy of the proposal that he had written when he was in Maine.
Yeah.
Which I was kind of sad about the whole granite thing, but that's another story. If we do something like that, I think it's really important to make sure everyone in town knows that policy. So that, for me, my granite post was gifted to me from someone. But so that they don't, now I think, well, there's going to be a policy where if there's damage caused because I have a granite post and then I have to pay money, I wouldn't do a granite post.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, some way to make sure that everybody knows the policy if one is in place.
Yeah, I mean, for, in consideration of the people driving the plow truck, whether it's, a contractor or, somebody who's an employee of the DPW, it can be really hard to see where the side of the road is. And, and that's why, people don't hit mailboxes because they want to. They hit mailboxes because it's snowing hard, it's dark, the wind is blowing, you're in a virtual whiteout sometimes, and you don't see a mailbox. And
Completely interesting.
yeah, and that's there are areas where people have to mount their mailboxes in a way so they can't possibly whack a post. They have hanging by chains from a bar up above, where the actual post is 2 or 3 feet off the roadway. And I'm not suggesting that we ought to have a requirement like that. It's just that just by nature, there's a risk there.
I have nothing but praise for our plow people, and I really do sympathize with them. Plus, they're awake for how many hours at a time trying to keep those roads clean so that they're safe. Totally get that. If you ever drive by 42 Crane Street, though, this granite post is like no more than a yard away from a telephone pole. And it's just like when it happened, it was bizarre. It's like they didn't hit the telephone pole, but they hit my post. And my post is after the telephone pole. So, that they came this way, they didn't hit the pole, and then they decided to go into, I don't know. It's kind of funny. The whole thing is now funny in retrospect.
Yeah. I did actually drive by to take a look.
Oh, okay.
I also live on Great Neck Street before
Okay.
that, so.
So, I don't know. You have a huge job to do with everything. I understand that.
Yeah.
But just a hard-working woman trying to
Right.
save my money.
Understand that. There is a hazard to equipment. And, I guess I wonder if, the policy currently, or the loose policy is $50 limitation. And, and that would cover, not a granite post, but, that would cover,
Maybe.
I
Maybe.
actually, okay, I want to throw this in because we had we had 2 or 3 meetings about this 3 or 4 years ago. And I went to Home Depot and you can get the post and the box for like $30. I mean, it's not great, but that's what you can get. And so $50 is actually not, under dire circumstances that the town has to pay it. That's actually not that bad. And we know that the granite posts and really architecturally designed posts are actually unacceptable by the Department of Transportation and the U.S. Postal Service. End of story. So that's the way I feel about it.
Well, in your case, the DPW did install a wooden post, right?
Yes.
They replaced it and moved it back, yeah. So I don't know that wasn't really done according to policy,
Right,
but,
right.
So I just wonder is there insurance that we can purchase for the town that would cover this sort of thing?
Does the DPW have insurance if they hit somebody's car?
No, the town would have to pay more money for insurance. That would be ridiculous.
It'd be cheaper than buying mailbox posts for everything.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, no.
I don't think it's insurable because the insurance company would take the position that the town is not responsible.
Yeah.
They don't have an obligation to pay.
Yeah.
And what insurance companies do is that they basically act in your place. And if an insurance company had an affirmative defense that was absolute, they would exercise it. So why would they ever pay?
Yeah, yeah. The other thing is it's hard to believe that it would be less expensive. I mean, if assuming there's a mailbox post actuary, they've done the numbers and they know what the liability would be, and the liability would be sufficient to cover the repair plus their profit and costs. And so just by nature, it's insurance. Insurance spreads the risk. That's really what it does. Is it just spreads the risk across a broad pool. But there's a cost to spreading the risk.
Just trying to look at it at different angles.
Yeah, no, I understand.
A person in a better financial position than me can replace that post. I can't. It's okay. It's not the worst problem to have.
Yeah.
Anyways, I appreciate your bringing the topic up for discussion, and I realize that there's still nothing definite. But after my initial meeting, like I said, all that time went by, and I was never even contacted to say, yeah, we've made a decision, or we're talking about it more. It was,
that was an oversight, and
Yeah.
that should not have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that was a policy. I think that was an oversight. That was, too many things on the plate, and didn't get back to that one kind of situation. That's my guess.
Yeah. Well, we are going to work on this, and we will get back to you to let you know where things stand with it. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for coming in. Yeah.
one of my many jobs.
Oh, really?
I used to work in a library.
Nice.
Okay, great. Thanks. Good to meet you.
So is this something that Angus is going to draft specifically for us, or were we to discuss this more?
Well, we have this model that was used in, have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
We have this, as a model, we have what had been used in, in another town.
Yeah.
A town in Maine, town of Hampton, where, Angus was previously town manager. And, it's pretty well thought through. So it's probably not a bad place to start for a model.
Yeah, I just wonder what the next step is.
Yeah.
So I have a question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So prior to us putting our mailbox in, the postmaster came and handed us a piece of paper and told us exactly where to place the mailbox. Is that the same policy that the town has on location, or?
Presently, the town doesn't have any official policy
On location?
on location.
Oh, okay.
But the policy I think that Angus has is consistent
With the post?
with the
Yes.
post office requirements, because actually.
Because they want it closer to the road, so that they don't have to get out.
But,
Yeah.
you have the pull off or you have the extension, But the thing is that as a liability situation, it always is anyone who puts something in the right of way, which is where these are, they do it at their risk.
We just need to have that be part of the policy so that people are
Mine's been
aware.
taken down 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
I once started with the big post with the thing, and then right now it's just
A stick. Yeah.
But no one's hurt the stick. And the other thing is, in this case, it might not even have been a circumstance of hitting the post, but sometimes you get a chunk of ice, and the plow is pushing, and it just happens.
There's a lot of
You have
force.
that chunk of ice
Yeah.
at that right spot with granite, which is brittle.
Mhm.
And you just, so it wasn't I do not believe it was a situation where the snow driver turned in,
Right.
to hit it with the plow. In most of the cases, it is the snow that drives it back, which is why my mailbox now is kind of a leaning tower away.
Instead of fighting it, you're just going with
No,
it.
it's just an event, because it's wood, so
Yeah.
it bends a little bit.
Yeah. Probably because your house was new, and it was a new mailbox. That's probably why it came in, yeah.
My recommendation is don't invest a lot of money.
Okay, well, I got that, yep, got it.
All right, so do we have a time frame on, I mean, we definitely should get this resolved before the winter, right?
Yeah, well, it would be nice if we had, I mean, is there any, it would be nice if we had a policy we could vote on. It would be nice if we had a policy, defined policy we could
If
vote
you-
on
if-
tonight, but
If you like having this policy, which I personally did,
And did Wayne review it?
I'd have Wayne review it when
Yeah.
he gets back, and then just,
Just change the letterhead?
change the letterhead.
Yeah.
right, yeah.
And it would fall under your policies, you know,
Mhm.
the select board has
Yeah.
under the town manager legislation, the idea to make policies, regulations, and
Yeah.
directives, and this would be one of them.
Okay.
Did it say that Wayne has reviewed this?
I thought I read some.
It wasn't in here, it was in a prior email that Wayne sent me, but
Okay,
yeah.
that's probably right.
But there was no attachment to say what he reviewed, so I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that, if we don't have something better or something to add, you know, or any specific comments to make relative to this.
I guess the only thing that you would ask is that we are, you know, consistent with what the post office is also suggesting.
Yeah. And this suggests that it's modeled on the postal service
Yes,
policy,
that's
both
what-
the Postal Service and this American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials.
And that
So-
should be the same between states.
Yeah. I mean, and since Wayne's in his other life a traffic engineer,
Right.
I'm sure he's cognizant of these things.
Right, yeah. Okay, so, well, all that being said, I guess, I would move, well, I can make the motion. I would move that, we adopt this policy, because I've heard no comments made relative to this policy, that we adopt this policy as used by the town of Hamden in town of Hamden, Maine. Change the letterhead.
Do we just want to make sure that Wayne has specifically reviewed this proposal?
I thought somebody said they had,
Well, he
Well,
referenced
maybe-
one, but yeah,
maybe.
it didn't have this specific
Okay,
proposal
so-
attached. That would be my only concern, just to make
okay,
sure he's
okay,
on board.
I misunderstood that.
Yeah.
That's fine. So we can wait till our next meeting and
Mhm.
then presumably we'll just adopt this and that
So
actually
maybe
gives
by
us-
that point, the letterhead can be changed and we'll have an
Right.
actual formal policy.
Yeah.
Right. It's always better to steal somebody else's good idea than risk what you might do on your own.
Right, and this may have came from another town.
Right.
Right.
Okay. All right, meeting management proposals. So Wendy, you had some thoughts.
Yeah, so Mike had proposed the idea of continuing the meeting last time when we were kind of brainstorming about trying to cut down on the meeting time. So I think that's a good idea. I mean, so if we set a cutoff time of 9:30 or 4 hours after we start or whatever it is, and if we get there, we still have 15 things on the agenda, then we can say, all right, let's continue it to, the next night or whatever we decide. If there's only a few things, we can decide at that point, well, let's just keep going. We'll be done in 20 minutes or whatever. So that does put a burden on Angus's office because people will have to come to another meeting, but it's not an additional packet burden of preparing materials.
Yeah.
I think if we do that, it would be good to have a standard continued time so that, we can plan ahead in our schedules to know that possibly Tuesday, there'll be a continuation.
The only question then is that, especially from Angus's point of view, is that he runs into the meetings on Tuesday for FinCom and also the school committee.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be Tuesday. I'm just, either we do it the following Monday or we pick another date that week. Just try to be consistent.
I think Thursday of just guessing, I'd probably be, you know, the first time it happens, it'll be terrible, would be probably easier, because usually boards have, not a lot of boards meet on Thursday.
Just CPC,
Yeah,
but that's once a month.
Once,
So,
yeah, no.
yeah.
so I mean, I don't think, but the idea would be is you just pick a date, like a Thursday.
So we could plan around it.
Or,
Yeah.
you know, or Monday, yeah. But then you wouldn't have to do an extra night package, you know.
Right, and so you would not have to post that as long as you voted on it at
Well,
the
the
meeting?
advantage of a Thursday
Oh, I guess you
is that
could.
you could repost it, you know, you'd have time to do it right then,
Mhm.
you know. I mean, yeah. But I mean, you could announce the adjournment to a time certain.
So, it's just a
I have
thought.
a few comments.
Okay,
Any time we have had an additional meeting, something came up and we needed to have a meeting on Thursday, then other people are aware of that, and something was going to be one item, ends up being 4 items. This has happened repeatedly in my time on the select board, that we say, okay, we're just gonna do this one thing, and I don't think it's ever been one thing, there's like 3 other things. Oh, well, the selectmen meeting, let's do this, and this also. So those always get added to the agenda. That's one thing. So you get agenda creep. It gets bigger. The second thing is the job expands to fit the time. If we know this, if people know that, okay, well, we don't get through this, we can talk about it on Thursday or next Monday, then there's not any pressure to get something done on that particular day. That's my second comment. My third one is that I just don't think it's fair to say I was a parent dealing with something related to the youth leagues, and the meeting was running long, and instead of having to deal with it on, okay, it might be a little bit later on Monday than I had hoped for, but now I've wasted that Monday, and now I have to go deal with it on Thursday again. I just don't think it's fair to people when something's on the agenda, we're gonna do our best to get it done on Monday, even if it's a little late. But now we're gonna blow it off and do it on a different day. Everybody that participates in town government has other busy lives. I'm not talking about the people on the select board, everyone in the staff that have to deal with it, the people that are trying to actually, the members of the public that are trying to talk to us. And I don't know, I just think it will, well, we can say, okay, well, we're down to agenda item J, and we've got 3, 4 more, or how many more we gotta have. So we'll just have more discussion. I think that this will just get mission creep, and it will be, instead of a 1 4-hour meeting, we'll have 2 3-hour meetings, so it'll be 6 hours instead of 4 hours. That's my feeling, and that's my experience with being on the board, is that if we have another meeting, other things get added on, or then we talk about one item. If for too long, people have other stuff to do. We have to make decisions. Angus gives us a tremendous amount of data. I spend a lot of time reading all this stuff, and so we should be prepared. But we don't need to talk. Maybe we talk too long. Those are my views. I think I just talked too long. Okay.
all right. Well, I mean, I take your points, Archie. I mean, one thing is that if we set the agenda, we can't be adding to it, right? I mean, that would prevent agenda creep. but that would be on us to make sure we adhere to that. The other point, I just, when in the proposal that I put out, I think we should have anything that has staff or resident input should be first on the agenda. So we would only continue if it's just discussion among the select board members.
That's the chairman's prerogative to decide how the agenda goes, and
Right.
sometimes something is more, certain things are more important. I don't think we should take that, I don't think we should make a rule and take that away from the chairman. That's the chairman's prerogative.
That can certainly be sort of a guidance to use, but yeah, it might be hard to use it without exception.
Yeah, I just want to avoid having staff sit around for 3 hours waiting for or like you said, Archie,
Well,
having it be continued.
I know when I was chair, I tried to make it so that people that didn't have to phone in or come in person, to the best of our ability, to put them first, and I think we do that.
So Archie, you just want to continue how we've been going?
Well, I just think things are going to be, I don't know, I just think it's going to be, you're going to have two shorter meetings, but the total time elapsed will even be longer. That's the way I feel.
Okay. Well, I mean, I certainly think there are things we could do to make the meetings more efficient. Part of it is it's a new board. We're not quite, not comfortable. We're not used to working with each other, but this would just be a proposal to keep us away from, 7-hour meetings. If that happens again, we'd have some kind of, fail safe to get through it. And then where did we go wrong? Let's try to improve this next time. So just an idea.
I'd like to think that the 7, well, I guess it was actually a 6-hour meeting, 5:30 to 11:30. Is that what we did?
We've had 3 of those since I started.
Yeah.
In 2 months.
Have we gone that late that many times?
At least 11. Yeah.
Okay.
So if everybody's fine with that, then, just, try to make it better. I just thought that, perhaps there's a way to avoid that, because I don't think that we're that efficient after 9 or 10 o'clock.
No, yeah, you definitely get fuzzy.
Yeah.
So. Mike's thinking you're getting fuzzy all the time.
Each day, no.
So Archie, when you say the agenda creep, things that would be discussed in the second meeting, do you think they're not important? I mean, it seems like if things get brought up, it's because they're important and people want them to be addressed.
No, I just, okay, suppose we have 3 items that we want to discuss at the second meeting. Well, no, okay, we only have 3 items now, so then people will talk more. I know how people work. If there's pressure, people to not talk so much, they won't talk so much. But now that there's plenty of time, well, we can beat this one to death. I just seen it.
Well, that's your job as chair, right? To
Right,
not allow that.
I guess, so based on all that, we shouldn't talk too much more about this. I hear what you're saying, Wendy, and I think, speaking for myself, I can try to manage this better and be more willing to be rude and cut people off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I would prefer in the near term to actively try to be quicker.
Okay.
And to move things and cut off the discussion. The unfortunate point is that we all learn from discussion. If we don't talk, then we don't learn, and then we're less informed. And,
I mean,
yeah, Archie.
I think let's all collectively think
Okay. We're done with that item. Thanks, Archie. Thanks, Marty.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, our next, next is town manager performance evaluation schedule. I think
Yeah.
you're kind of the lead here, so, or, you know.
Well, I just thought we kind of decided informally last time that we weren't gonna have outside input. And then we talked about schedule, but then Angus felt like he couldn't do his part of it in the near terms.
Yeah.
And then we just dropped it. So if we are gonna do this, instead of waiting for the next town meeting, then I think we need to make a schedule, so
Okay,
that it happens. But, yeah, but I think it's dependent on, Stephanie, when is the audit done? Is it like,
So town audit this year is September 13th.
oh, all right.
So I'm in the middle right now of trying to close the books by the end of the month, and then it's all state reporting to Department of Revenue for a full month.
Mhm.
I have to get the balance sheet approved before the auditors even get here. And then, while they're here, I have to start certification of free cash. So it's a busy few months until around October for myself.
And I assume Angus as well.
Yes. Yeah, there's just a lot going on. On top of that, we have CARES reporting right now.
Mhm.
We also got the ARPA funding. We've got a portion in on that, so it's a heavy workload right now.
Yeah.
As always.
So, Mike, what does it mean if we don't satisfy the contractual requirement to provide a performance evaluation?
I don't think that it has an effect. I mean, in some ways, as Angus said, is that they kind of had a performance evaluation with regard to the contract negotiations that occurred in the last, at the beginning of the year.
right,
So
there was
you-
sort of a vote of confidence in.
Right, and there was a review and, what they're doing, what's on the list, and, so I don't think that it's time critical, meaning that it's gonna impact the contract one way or the other, with regard to that, so. I mean, I think it's a non-event from that.
Okay.
Maybe the more important thing is to say, well, when should we do this?
Well,
when
it
would be-
stipulates before town meeting.
Yeah, but my point is, what time of the year would be the best?
Probably not town meeting.
Not
Right.
really.
Yeah.
To an extent, I would think that even though it's around the holidays, it's that December would be one, because that's before the budget, well.
We've started the budget
I
already.
know,
Yeah.
I know.
There's
Is that not a good time?
maybe the
Yeah.
springtime before town meeting.
I mean, that's contractually the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, after the FinCom report is completed, the interim between, those 3 weeks between that and the town meeting. Because at that point, once the FinCom booklet is done, then
Yeah.
there's always a lot of work to do.
Right.
Yeah.
It never ends, I mean,
Yeah.
but the idea is that
But legal obligations to keep the town running, at least.
Right.
The major legal obligations
Right.
to keep
But
the
once
town
you do,
running have.
once you've done the FinCom report,
Yeah.
Correct.
you've got a couple of weeks waiting for town meeting. Not waiting, you're not sitting around like, oh, I got nothing to do now.
Yeah.
So I feel like we really need to get Angus's input. I mean, I think what you're
Yes,
saying is
you
true,
absolutely
but I think, especially if he wants to have a part in it, do
Yeah,
a self-evaluation.
Yeah, you really, you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my opinion, but that's.
All right, so that means we're not gonna get this off the agenda again.
Right.
All right,
Well, if you were here, then I would discuss it, but
Yeah.
obviously that's not the case.
Okay, so,
and the other thing is I had asked him for the contract because I wanted to see the language and there's
Yep.
very specific things we're supposed to do as part of this evaluation, so. So I think setting a schedule so that we can do our part would be important, otherwise it'll just get swept along like it has been.
okay. We may find that because of the MOA with Merrimack, you know, to get all that completed, to get everything completed relative to the con composition, or the conservation agent position. You know, we have a meeting scheduled for 2 weeks from tonight, but we may, and Archie's going to cringe because he was talking about Mission Creep. But you know, we may find it important to meet before the 26th, and if that was the case, you know, perhaps we could finish this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sounds good. And then we have to do reviews for all the other town staff that report to the board. So
yeah.
No pressure, but.
Okay. Are you good with that for now?
Yep.
Okay, great. We have 2 sets of meeting minutes.
Yeah, so these are the ones that I think we were going to get comments to Jenny, and I know I didn't. Did you, Rick?
No, I did not. And I only saw, and I think Archie had pointed this out, on page 80 of the packet, there was a vote.
Yeah.
It says yes 1, no 0, Archibald and Kemper opposed. So that should be yes 1, no 2.
Yeah. There were typos throughout, and I just
Yeah.
handwrote them and talked
Yeah.
with Jenny about it.
Yeah.
And she said, just hand this to her, and
Okay.
she will make the changes.
Okay.
So, do you want me to go through and say them so we can?
No,
vote on
no,
it?
that's fine. If you did that, that'd be great. And I'll tell you my personal philosophy with typos is I read them through, and if to me it is clear what the intent was, I just move past it. I mean, everybody should have their own strategy for doing that. But if I think it's completely clear that it's a typo and what the meaning was intended to be, then I don't, you know, I just kind of move right by it.
Okay.
You know, because it's not fine prose. You know, it's
I like Rick. I like that idea.
The term for that is scrivener's error,
yeah.
and the policy is that they can be amended without a vote, meaning they're just a scrivener's error. That you put a Y when it should have been an I,
And I can fix that.
and it can be fixed administratively, ministerially. It's not.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes even the wrong word, but you look at the context and you know what was supposed to be there.
Well, this had like a couple errant phrases that
Yeah.
didn't belong there,
Yeah,
and
okay.
so it
and
was
it's
kind of confusing.
Stuff like that probably, you know,
Yeah.
if that goes away, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah. And the other thing, just in general, if we're going to be a select board, I don't know that we need to have selectman Parker and selectwoman Reed. I mean, it can't just
I'm
be
glad you
select
said
board
that.
member.
Yeah, just board member would
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
But
So
that's.
can you do a global search on this and change that, and perhaps ask her to make that
I
go
will,
forward?
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
she will hear it.
All right.
As well.
Hi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just give this to you then after the meeting. Okay. Yep. So can we vote on it then? Because these are
Sure,
all
yeah, so
scrivener's errors?
Yep, that sounds great. So
Okay.
I move that we accept the meeting, the select board meeting minutes for open session for April 26th and
May 10th,
May 10th
as amended.
as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The MS4, there was a draft for the MS4, but I think Angus was going to touch on that. You know, the MS4 bylaw, and Angus isn't here to speak to it, but the one thing that I think we should point out is that comments were requested from this board, the select board, from the planning board, the Board of Health, and the Concom, no later than the end of July. So that's just a little over 2 weeks from now. And it's important that those are available for any changes to the draft.
So,
Rick, you know when this would be, in other words, when would we take this to, when are we planning on taking this to town
Yeah, the goal is this fall, this, special town meeting. Yeah, so which is why there's a time frame that's important to meet at this point.
I do think, I mean, there are some outstanding questions, who the stormwater authority is.
Right.
I don't know at what
Good,
point
good.
we'll discuss
That's
that,
right.
but
Yeah.
that's kind of a big one.
Right, and that was part of in the note regarding this. That's a good point. I meant to mention that it's important that
just throwing this question out. I read the proposal. So, who would this board be? I guess that's right. And where would they come from?
That's what we have to decide.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a natural fit.
Do we have any models? I guess that's my question. Like, so what does who's on this board in other towns? How big is it? All those kinds of things. They are sort of housekeeping measures, but at the same time people will consider it important, and they do have some ramifications to citizens of the town. So I guess we should develop some ideas ourselves, or see what other towns have done. That's my only comment about the whole thing. How we actually create the board, or
I thought the expectation was that an existing board or commission would be the designee. Maybe I misunderstood that, but that.
No, I think that was my understanding.
Yeah, I don't think, Archie, I don't think the intent was to create a new board or commission, but to instead determine what existing board or commission was most appropriate to take this responsibility.
okay.
I think the most natural. I think the most natural fit is the conservation agent. However, if that's a part-time position, I don't know if that's going to work. I mean, the agent already does this kind of work for orders of conditions, monitoring stormwater, and so I think the other thing we need to think about is the jurisdiction. I don't know that we want to limit it to the MS4 area, because if we have a developer doing, putting a large development in outside that area, I would like to have them included in this. So that's the other thing that I think we should consider.
Yeah, no, I think I kind of wondered the same thing. It leaves the rest of the town wide open.
Right.
Wendy, you know more about this than I do. So that's the existing area is about a third of the town, correct? Something like that.
Right, it's the most densely populated area. There's a metric that you use to determine the extent of that area. Which is probably fine for most small projects, but if we have a large development, outside that area, I think they should be covered. So I guess we would have to look at what impact that would have to the rest of the town if we make this a townwide bylaw versus, just the MS4 regulatory area.
Well, would it, I mean, here's, I guess, where this board, can weigh in with some comments. Would it make sense to set a limiting factor of, a development that includes more than 3 new homes and or more than some particular, some amount of disturbed area?
Yeah, right now it's an acre.
Yeah, it's an acre, but it doesn't cover most of town.
Right.
So maybe that should be it. Any development that disturbs more than an acre.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe what you could do is any development should require a NEPA filing. And that has a whole number of different triggers, whether it's an amount of area, but if it required a NEPA filing, then it would also require compliance with the stormwater bylaw.
And that's not an acre though, right? What is the?
No, it definitely is on different things, meaning it covers a lot of different things. It
Yeah.
can cover, traffic, if you have so much traffic, or if you do so, and I think disturbance of a certain amount of area stuff. I don't have all the details of it, but that would be kind of a hallmark that would cover the area. It's automatically covering the area that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Or any development that would require redevelopment. So if there's an area outside development which was large enough to do that, then you'd be covering there without having to sit there and say, well, it's an acre, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Archie's point is good. Maybe we should look at like Newbury. They have one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Merrimack does yet, but maybe we should look at some other similar towns and see how they handle it.
Yeah, also, I guess it wouldn't hurt to reach out to Jennifer Hughes at MVPC and see if she knows how other communities have handled that, because she probably does. I mean,
She drafted the bylaw.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Model on other bylaws.
Yeah, I can ask her.
I have a question for Mike. If you accepted municipal things, but what about the school district? Would they be not exempted, or because they're not part of the town, or
No.
how would, like, other governmental bodies, or like the water department, for example, that's not actually part of the town, it's sort of a separate entity. Would they be exempted also, or not?
I haven't looked into it, Archie, but I'm assuming that if it was any type of political subdivision, which would include, obviously, the water department while it is an enterprise fund, it is all part of the town. It is not a separate part. It is not a separate part of the town. It is still all part of the town. It's just its funding is set aside. That's really it. The school district, obviously is a political subdivision of the Commonwealth. So I would assume that if a municipal was exempt, then the regional school district would also be. But that's my assumption. I haven't looked into it as definitive, but I can't imagine that they would carve out a separation for that.
Okay, so I think when we get some time, we all want to not reinvent the wheel, see what other towns in the area have done, as Wendy suggested, and also the find out from the people that have been putting this together, what their thoughts on the makeup of this, or whether we give it, like if the Conservation Commission ultimately is doing this already. We should just see what other places are doing. I think that's a worthwhile thing, and we have to do that relatively soon.
Yeah, I can reach out to Jennifer Hughes because I've worked with her on other things, and just ask her and let you know.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. That was a good point, though, about covering other areas. Looking at the rest of it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're done.
Well, just an update
Okay.
for the board on the car post.
Okay.
The bid documents are all been prepared, specifications are like, and so the schedule's been set so that the general bids are out. Are being advertised now. They are due on August 6th. We have the filed subbids will be due on July 29th. This is all going to be done electronically through the contractor that we hired to basically run it, and there's going to be a.
This is the owner's agent.
Excuse me?
The owner's agent, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yes, it's the one we retained to do all the work. And it's all electronic now. And there will be a pre-bid conference to be held at the project site on July 21st at 11 a.m. So that's where potential bidders are invited to go to the site and with the representatives of the architect and the town to basically do a visual inspection.
It's on July 21st.
On July 21st.
Okay.
So August 6th, that's when we'll get the bids and we'll be informing the town at that time.
Yeah, great, okay, thanks, Mike. Who was chosen as the town's agent?
The town's agent is, we had, I have her name, but I'm trying to see where the company is. It's Mary Blesko, who's it, but it's like, it's not listed.
Okay,
CMAS, yeah.
okay,
They're basically, we hired them to, basically do all the paperwork and documentation for, getting the bids ready, to get contract bids and putting it all together, so.
okay, great, thanks.
All right, so is this Q?
Yeah,
Our other agenda items for next time?
yeah, I think so. So I could just bear with me for a second. Stephanie, I know you would ask me today if you should go through the the current financial for the year, but I think it makes sense to wait until Angus is here to do that.
I agree.
Yeah, okay.
That's fine. I provided those numbers, but they are just estimates.
Okay.
Just to give you guys a picture where we
Yeah.
are.
Okay.
So will that change by the next meeting, do you think?
It's slightly.
Okay.
I still have to, once, FinCom approves these, I have to do the transfers if they fully get approved, and then
Okay.
encumber the funding and close the books. So they could change a little bit.
Okay, all right.
Okay, yeah, so we're on to out of the queue then.
Yeah, so what would you think about just having a standing agenda item for updates from the select board email address? Just because things often come up after the agenda is posted.
Yeah.
If we had that, then I could just update you or ask questions, because there are a couple things that I need to get feedback.
Okay.
How does that sound?
Sounds good. I guess I'm wondering if more of those emails, I don't see the thread. I know you forward emails to us, and I'm not sure if they're all forwarded to us or not. But if more of those should be immediately redirected to the town manager's office, or I mean, what's your sense?
Well, Angus, this was supposed to be a labor-saving thing for Angus
Yeah.
and Annie for me to handle it.
Okay.
I mean, I can turn it back to him
Okay.
if you want, but that was at his request that I started doing it.
Yeah.
So, but, so do you think that Angus should handle these things instead of me? Or instead of forwarding stuff?
I guess the question is how, are we getting into the weeds on stuff that could be handled sort of more administratively, and they end up, taking up time in these meetings, and maybe that's not the case.
Yeah.
It's not. It's
I mean,
a
the
question.
straightforward things I forward.
Yeah.
But it really was just a way, to get stuff off Angus's desk.
Yeah.
So he isn't monitoring this email address as well as his own.
Okay.
Like something came from the MMA asking for our wages, wanting us to participate in the model. Are you aware of that? Maybe you received it too.
I
don't
get
know.
it too.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, that's just, is that something that we want to participate in? So stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, Archie told me the stuff he wants to look at, and I forwarded him that.
Okay.
The other things that, like the PFAS thing, I think I forwarded to both of you.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's your call.
Yeah.
Or I guess it's Angus's call, because originally he had wanted me to do it.
Yeah.
So
Okay. I guess what I want to do is what I'd like to do is make sure that we're not adding more things as to our, sort of as a standing item to our agenda that's gonna eat up time when we're trying to, when we're trying to do what we can to expedite the meetings, if we're not actually bringing anything to the party when we take them on.
Well, so for example, the dog bite incident, that seems to me like that's a pretty important thing to deal with.
Yeah.
So, I guess, you know, that could go to Angus and he could handle it and then come to the select board if he wants input. I mean, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from residents.
Yeah.
You know, that feel like now they have a place they can forward concerns to, that they don't feel like they're burdening the town manager or staff. You know, so maybe we could redirect it if, you know.
If they're not time sensitive, maybe if it's just my suggestion, is that you could make take a digest of the ones you think are worthy of going to the board, give it to Angus, for just putting it in the packet. Doesn't have to review it, it's in the packet, and then, so it's in your packet, and you wouldn't discuss them in that meeting, but you would basically, the board would decide which of those ones they would want to put on a future agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be a standing item under the future assignments, but it would be part of the packet. People would know about them, it wouldn't cause any more work, other than, putting them in a packet to the board, and obviously
And then
the town would know about it and would at least be aware of it without having to address it. And then the idea is that this would be just for a future discussion, as opposed to taking a meeting at that meeting to discuss it for the first time.
And then if one of the board members flags it, then we discuss it at a future meeting. But if nobody thinks that it needs to be discussed at a future meeting, then it isn't.
Yeah, I think that's essentially what we've been doing. I've forwarded everything that I thought, needed to be paid attention to. But this, for example, this incident this weekend came up after the agenda was set. So.
Yeah, so this would be the thing that we should talk about at an extra meeting,
Yeah.
Because what's done is done. Obviously, if there was something that needed the board's action now, you would be able to do it because it would be unforeseen, requiring immediate, that would be an exception to the open meeting law in order for you to be able to act on it. But something like this that has been done, it should be, okay, now we'll schedule some time on it. That could be a real time sink.
I know, but it's something that needs to be addressed. I mean, what's our liability as a town?
I don't think there's liability for actions of other people. Certainly liability for the dog owner. But I think that, this should be a discussion you have as to what solutions you have. We have this problem. How should we address it?
Yeah.
I think part of what I'm hearing right now is there's an email that I haven't seen yet. Sounds like.
No, I forwarded it to you.
When?
Saturday. The resident called me. Yeah.
Okay. Somehow that ended up buried. I'll find it.
Okay, so I wasn't meaning to discuss it tonight because it's not on the agenda.
No, I just wanted to clarify that I had.
Yeah, so I wanted to acknowledge it, and my plan or my suggestion would be to get input from the relevant committees and boards so that at the next meeting I could summarize to you what I found out and we could discuss it.
Mm-hmm.
I also might suggest that we see if the animal control officer could have an increased presence at Mill Pond. I asked Chief Duran about that and he said that's something he could do if we were in favor of that. So.
Okay. Great.
So just looking for, guidance from the board if you want me to pursue that or not. I'm going to the Mill Pond Committee meeting this week anyway, and that's on their agenda. So.
Okay, great. Archie, do you have any other thoughts on it?
I have to say, I'm having this last discussion, I'm having a hard time hearing all of it, so I don't really have anything to say. No, I was having a hard time following what everyone was saying, so I apologize.
Okay, that's fine. So I think Wendy was proposing that she was gonna put things together that come in through the select board email address in sort of a digest form, and it would be included in the meeting packets, not for a specific discussion in that meeting. Is that right, Wendy? The way I'm.
Yeah, I can do
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Is that what you had in mind?
I mean, I think what I'm doing now is fine. If stuff
Yeah.
comes across, I forward
Okay,
it.
okay.
If it's something I think we should discuss, then I'll
Okay.
bring it up. It's just that if it was a standing agenda item, then we could discuss it. Whereas now I have to just say we should discuss this in 2 weeks. And
Okay,
I feel like this is a time sensitive thing that really can't wait for 2 weeks. So.
okay. Okay, I didn't catch that aspect
Yeah.
of it. Okay. So that's interesting. So if it's a standing item, but there's no detail in what the standing item content is, and it can morph to anything?
And that would not be what the Attorney General would say.
Yeah.
You would have to have, the hallmark is that it be reasonably identified so someone would know what the content of the discussion would be. To have an agenda item like new business is considered improper, because what is new business? It is a catch-all for anything, which is not what the open meeting law is supposed to do. You're supposed to have it as an agenda item. That's why I suggested is that you could put it in the idea, and then you pick it out to have it at a meeting, unless you evoked the fact that this was something that wasn't reasonably anticipated and needs to be, discussed. And in those circumstances, the best practice is to, amend the agenda
As soon as you know.
find out,
Yeah.
in order to include it. Which does put sometimes a burden on people, and also sometimes in the past, at least one selectman was a little bit put off by it because he had gotten all the information and he didn't bother to check again that now a new item was up, and he was kind of caught by surprise by it. And he said, well, we can't do that. He was upset about it.
Yeah.
But if people are prepared on it, then.
Okay.
So, I mean, the answer is, Rick, you're correct. You can't have like an open-ended agenda item that's going to include articles which the board's going to take action on that isn't anticipated, unless you put that caveat in that it needs to be acted upon now.
Okay. Well, so in terms of general, I think we can just continue with the way it's been going, unless you want to do something different.
Based on all that we've just said, I think it makes sense to keep doing what we're doing.
All right.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. So are you and Archie on board with me getting input from Mill Pond Committee, Parks and Rec, or people that are dealing with the dog situation at public areas, and giving you an update at the next meeting? I mean, I feel like it's something the select board needs to take a position on. So I'm just trying to figure out, is it worth getting input beforehand, or do we want to have a discussion and then get input? I mean, this resident and many people on Facebook there's been a lot of discussion about that.
Okay. I just found your email.
We used to get a lot more mail correspondence. Obviously now we don't. Now we get emails, and there was always a note saying we have correspondence from the Department of Education about this, and then we have correspondence from the city of Newburyport related to this. And I think if we could just have something as brief as that, and then if it's something that we want to discuss, then we could absolutely one of us, like you mentioned before, wants to flag it
Right.
So I have no problem with whoever, if you're willing to, you know, just put like, some weeks there might be 4 things or 5 things that we need to look, you just wanna put them down, and some weeks there might be 0.
Yep. Okay.
So for next week, do you want to add an agenda item on this dog bite issue?
Yes. Well, I want to, but it's
Yeah,
up to Rick.
that's fine, yes.
All right, so unless you tell me no, I'm just gonna proceed as planned with
Okay.
just kind of informally getting input. So that's all right.
Yeah, sounds fine.
Okay, good.
Okay.
And what do we think about asking the animal control officer to have an increased presence at Mill Pond?
If
I talked to Chief Duran and he said,
he said that wasn't a problem. Yeah, I mean, if that's.
I mean, this was reported to the police. And,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I guess I'm wondering if we can present enough of a presence that we actually have an impact, but you never know till you try.
Yeah. I think it might reflect the select board taking it seriously.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's at some point, is it does it become a perceptual thing, or does it actually have and the only way to find out though is to try,
right.
Right. Hopefully it actually has an impact.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Does anybody have Archie or Wendy, do you have anything else?
Nope.
Okay. I think we're done with this, that item though, right?
Yep.
You're good. Okay, great. Time to, so we have a meeting scheduled for the 26th, and I guess if we schedule another meeting, it's possible that we'll try to do something next week, but I'm reluctant to grab a time and a day right now. I know I'm wide open next week. I know Angus mentioned that he's open, his schedule is open next week. So, Archie, if we were to meet next week, is to take up the things that we weren't able to address today. Is there a day that would work for you?
Next week is fine.
Yeah.
Monday's good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, Monday's probably the best because we've already established that. Okay. So I don't think we should schedule that. We shouldn't commit to that right now. We'll wait until Angus is in.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Okay. Anybody think about going home?
That's good.
It's early now.
Well, it is. I mean, we're actually, despite this short agenda, we're still almost at 9:30. It's like,
But we didn't
What's
have
up
the
with that?
executive session first, so
right,
that's a bonus.
So we're feeling fresh.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
Are you on a boat, Archie?
Is there a motion?
No, I was kind of sort of I was trying to give somebody else a hint to make a motion, but
No, you have to be more direct than that.
okay. All right. Well, I'll make a motion then that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Right.
Thanks.